to, as you can see on the screen, my name is Richard Hancock. My background has been very much about scaling up and building businesses. At the start of my career, it was about building brands as a marketeer. And then as I kind of evolved into a business leader, it was about scaling up, often with a view to an exit. So the first 20 years was building food and drink companies, the likes of Buxton, Perrier, coffee companies, followed by 10 years building digital entertainment businesses. So effectively, yeah, content and gaming services for mobile phones. And that growth came from basically underpinned by understanding customer groups, product development, and then finding customers across the globe, and sometimes plugging those gaps that we might have by buying existing companies that were doing stuff that we couldn't, or would, people could do it better than us. But since our last exit in 2010, I've been very much helping SMEs, so businesses such as yours. Initially on my own as a consultant, but then subsequently for the last 10 years, been doing it for the marketing centre. So if this old dinosaur can get the tech to work, I'll try and share a screen. So can you see a pretty picture with lots of little pink circles?
Yep, all seems to be working.
Let me max that so it's as big as possible. Brilliant. So I, for the last 10 years, been working with a marketing centre that helps, as I say, businesses scale up, small businesses. And we do so by introducing businesses to seasoned, tried and tested chief marketing officers, marketing directors, who work as part of your team on a fractional and flexible basis. And that's anything from a couple of days a month to 2 or 3 days a week, where you can turn the tap up, down, or off literally at the drop of a hat. And to date, we've helped about, we've got 94 at the last count, CMOs on the team, and we've helped about 1,400 businesses. And at any one time, we're helping about 200. So that's kind of a bit about me and what we do. But what I like to focus on today is just how critical joined up marketing is to scaling and developing the maximum value for your businesses. Founding and running a business is all about building value, and for many of us, it's about selling it on. The ultimate goal is to extract maximum value for us and our families. So marketing plays a critical role, I think, in underpinning the growth of those businesses and those ambitions that you may harbour. And it's really important, in my experience, having been exposed to so many hundreds of businesses, that the marketing process is embedded into the day-to-day operations of a business as early on as possible. I meet, as I say, hundreds of businesses, and very often the marketing comes onto the radar in a kind of serious way very late on, and as such they kind of everything becomes inefficient, and it's easy to lose time and invest a lot or waste quite a lot of money as a result of taking it marketing serious late on in the process. So what do I mean by marketing? Because it means so many things to different people. So for some people, it's very much the colouring in department. They use their crayons to build brands and logos, and for others, it's just about TikTok videos and the socials. Yes, they have their important components of any business mix, and I meet, as I say, about 100, 120 business owners a year, and I've done so for a very long time. And I remain convinced that within the DNA of most entrepreneurs and business leaders and founders is a dominant marketing chromosome. You have an idea, a passion, a vision, and you start to build a business. But invariably, those businesses grow opportunistically, and that's quite understandable. They're bills to pay, mouths to feed, and they develop products and services, build websites, collateral. They appoint agencies or consultants. They're spending money left, right, and centre, often on Google crack, on all sorts of things. Basically, they grow up by winging it. And they're doing loads of marketing stuff, but it's just not joined up. And I'm not knocking this by in any way, because it's so typical of early stage businesses. And I meet some very, very successful businesses. Many are turning over many years, sometimes tens of millions, having grown this way. But it's inherently inefficient. And there will come a point in every business journey where process needs to be introduced. And it's just in the same way as you will find with your financial systems, your HR, your IT. There comes a point where you need to introduce process and systems, and the same applies to marketing. And the role of a kind of chief marketing officer or a senior marketing professional is to start, what are the big picture ambitions of this business, both long term, such as exit, or nearer term, and that's maybe a revenue number or a profit number. And the role of marketing is to, having established what the destination is, to come up with a map. So underpinning, a strategy that helps the business to get from A to B. And that's where you start. So the starting point of this process is in the top left-hand corner of this chart. And that is making sure that the leadership team and founders or investors, where you've got investors involved, are all aligned as to what is special about the business. What can you do that is different to the competitors? And what is going to underpin that success over the foreseeable future, to the point of an exit or the nearer term milestones. So I see, and I'm sure we've all seen, so many websites and businesses where the proposition is, this is what the factory churns out, this is what we do, and by the way, what makes us different is we've got lovely people, great people, and brilliant customer service. Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't cut it anymore. It's kind of, frankly, it's kind of vanilla BS. That's the kind of starting point. That's the stake to be at the table. But to really spend some time on working out what can be special. That's the first point. And the second point is, what do the ideal clients look like? That may be on a kind of both a quantitative level, so such as turnover, where they are geographically, which parts of the world, how many employees. That's the first point. But secondly, try and think of the ideal customer in terms of the problems that you are solving and for whom you're solving them. So think in terms of an emotional level of, how are you will you help make the people that are likely to buy from you be great at their jobs, making them feel great? Because that enables you to kind of work on the secret sauce, which is the messaging. How do you articulate what you do in a really digestible way that communicates the value that you can bring to the party, in a way that resonates both on a practical level, i.e., that product is exactly what I'm looking for, but also on an emotional level, that means makes the purchaser think, actually, these are the people I want to buy it from. They're really going to deliver, and it does exactly what I'm looking for, and I feel very comfortable doing business with these people. So, having established what you want to say and how you want to say it, articulating that in a really consistent way, developing your messaging and all your content around a similar kind of tone of voice, consistency of messaging, is really key to developing that brand and that relationship with the people you want to speak to. Take an example, BA and Virgin both do the same thing. They say, deliver people from London, take them to New York, but they have both very different personalities, and the relationship with their customers is so different, because that's the tonality, the messaging, and the consistency of that enables them to build differentiated propositions. So having nailed that down, what you want to say, how you want to say it, who you want to say it to, where do those people go to for information? You know, is it surfing the internet and Googling? Is it sitting on the tube and looking at those tube posters? Is it through referrals and introductions from their friends? Yeah. Understanding what channels that you need to drip feed that consistent messaging into in order to get onto the radar um, of those people is vital, because it helps you prioritize those channels and makes that process much more efficient. And it often involves experimentation. But it's vital to try and track the cause and effect of any channels that you're going to use. That enables you, and it's only by measuring this that you can refine that process, do more of what works well and less of what doesn't work so well. And then if you're kind of introducing kind of behavioral marketing tools into your channels, it's vital to extracting that maximum engagement with those customers. And so then once you've got their attention, how do we deal with them? Yeah, understanding and developing clearly defined customer journeys to convert interest into cash sales, which is, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And this is where kind of marketing meets sales. And I'm often asked, what's the difference between marketing and sales? But fundamentally, they're all part and parcel of the same engine. And arguably, one of the jobs of marketing is to make the sales function look great at their job. So by serving well qualified, interested potential businesses into a process and then sales gets them over the line. And that may involve using lots of online and automation tools to help manage their journey through this funnel. For example, by using live chat, and AI has really helped in the last few years in making this process that much more cost effective and more efficient. And using all sorts of chatbots and training people correctly is absolutely vital to developing the right process. And the experience from a consumer perspective should feel as seamless as possible and supported by a whole host of kind of practical issues. And this also within the remit of marketing, such as pricing models and customer care. Again, making this all joined up and seamless. The final cog of the kind of growth engine that we call marketing, but I prefer to use the term growth engine because effectively that's what the role of what we do is. It's all about managing those relationships, and it's that CRM piece. For paying customers, it's about maintaining an understanding of how they feel about us, which other needs they may harbor, opening opportunities for cross-selling and upselling other services, developing new ones, and defining a messaging journey to maintain relationships, not with just people that people who have only bought from you, but people that maybe didn't buy from you, understanding them better, developing, using that knowledge to again evolve your services, and people who have bought from you once, following them on their journey as they play musical chairs and move from one with their careers and move from one company to another. You get another bite at the cherry potentially. So a CRM engine is actually key to understanding your clients. And when joined up with the many levers of your marketing channels, to your financial reporting, to your systems, to your logistics, it's an invaluable tool of a source of data and insight to what works well and what doesn't work so well. And it also is a key component in understanding one of the most important KPIs that I could ever advise a company to get a hold of, and that is understanding your customer lifetime profitability. Really, not all customers are equal. You might have some very nice, shiny, marquee customers that look great from a perspective of window dressing. Have those up front in the early part of your journey. It maybe encourages other customers to come on board because if this business is good enough for them, they're certainly good enough for me. But doing so with the eyes wide open, because invariably, you've discounted your price. There can be very difficult customers. You may be having to, offer a bespoke product or service in order to get them on board. And too many of that type of customers can build in inherently inefficient processes. And, they're great but to have one or two of them, but very difficult to build a sustainable business, and extract maximum value by having too many of those people. But understanding where the very best customers that offer the greatest potential for lifetime profitability, segment those, understand which channels they came in from, because you've been tracking this process, enables you to invest your time, energy, and marketing dollars into the channels that have been most effective. And if you can build this kind of, as I say, joined up engines, so many of you and businesses that I meet are doing loads of marketing, but it's often disparate. It's not joined up. Marketing, and marketing engines is a series of cogs that are joined up and work together and hum nicely to underpin those growth ambitions. And if, like any engine, if it's got a dashboard that shows you where you are, what's working, what's not working, it's it becomes a very powerful vehicle to get you from A to B. And when it comes to exit and people are valuing a business, typically investors will benchmark your business against your competitors and sector averages. Now, they will apply valuation models and heavily discount them according to the unknowns. Now, if you are able to demonstrate a scalable growth engine that's underpinned by evidence and data, it will give those investors so much more confidence that the business can continue to thrive and grow once those founders have exited and taken their energy levels, taken their little black books of content that have underpinned and got that business going in the first place. They've taken those things to the beach with them. Then, those investors are going to discount the valuation by much less, and you'll extract maximum value out of it. So that's the kind of I'll stop sharing, because that's the bit, the framework that I just wanted to kind of impart. I've been gassing on for a while now, 20 minutes or so. Any questions or challenges around that while I have a sip of water?
That was fantastic, Richard. I really appreciate it. Lots to listen to and digest. And as a CX expert myself, I really value the power of retention, and that's exactly it. I always have this saying that, what if it works? Like, if the marketing works, if your campaigns work, if your sales team does well, and you have these customers, how do you keep them as long-term people? How do you keep that as you scale? Might be well and good if you have a small cookie shop and the brand is very on point because you've only got one shop to manage. But when you've got 500 cookie shops with 1,000 employees who are all representing your brand, can you still keep tabs on that? And I think it's really, really fascinating. So yes, I think, yeah, like you said, prevention is better than cure. Keeping that business model in mind is really, really valuable. So yeah, so for me, I just wanted to say, yeah, I think that was fantastic. Really good talk.
No, thank you. And that process of recalibrating, because again, businesses evolve so quickly, and I'd encourage again, it's quite rare for a business to have a really defined strategy and marketing strategy early on, but sometimes you have them. But no plan survives engagement with the enemy. And 3 or 4 years down the line, it's worth going right back to basics. So, what was the original vision? Does it still apply? Those original customers that we've all been chasing hard for the last 2 or 3 years, is that still relevant? The environment, the ecosystem in which businesses operate is changing so fast. And so, you often need to just go back and sense check the original plan and maybe come up with a new plan or tweak the original one. Original one.
I think that's key because, like, what worked before doesn't always work in the future.
No.
Like, look at Blockbuster, Netflix, obviously that situation. Then you've got Kodak and the digital cameras, and a lot of companies like Nokia, they actually had the technology for a smartphone, but were too slow off the mark to adapt because they didn't want to cannibalize their tappy phones and go from there. So yeah, no, I think yeah, like I said, future proofing and having that brand marketing perception, like so people know what they trust now, and they need to keep knowing that they're going to trust it in the future. And like I said, agility is key. So no, I think that's great. Any questions from anybody today?
Colin.
Richard, thank you for that. Really interesting. I just wanted to ask if you're able to give an opinion on how effective the sort of cold email approaches and bombarding. I've got a guy doing this. We've defined the audience, which are AML compliance officers, generally speaking, and I'm not totally in agreement with it, but he seems to think that sort of sending out this continual sort of stream of email that this is our product. Have you looked at it yet? So how effective do you think that is realistically? Because at the moment, I'm not overly convinced.
Um, I could be facetious here and say
Put
you
you through,
should know
please.
how effective it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you shouldn't, I mean, and it is facetious because any activity, particularly such as email, which is so measurable, it's so easy now to embed so many kind of data links into that email campaign process that you should have a really kind of end-to-end understanding of the relationship that email has with the people. So that's the facetious bit out of the way.
yeah.
As a generalism, I would say the success is contingent on the value that you can add to the content of those emails.
Okay.
Just sending stuff, this is what we do, and this is what we can offer, it is at the most ineffective end of the content stream. Email, and we use it, we have in the last 10 years, 12 years of the marketing sense, we have used email a lot and have found it to be a very, very effective channel.
Hmm.
And the way we've found it to be effective is not to try and flog stuff. It's
Right.
to establish your credentials as being a credible leader in your field by making, thinking about the content, adding value to the sector, being a thought leader in the sector.
Hmm.
And that just gets you, if people find it interesting, that the more interesting you make the emails, the smaller the percentage that find their way into a spam folder, and the blocking levels reduce. So making it interesting and selling subliminally is much more powerful than selling overtly through email.
Hmm.
So the point is really think about the content, do loads of beta testing, and we continuously are sending different wording, different messaging, different content, using enriched content, video, for example, adding other layers of content distribution around email. So whether it's webinars or invitations to stuff, just making it as a one cog in the wheel.
Yeah.
Is much more powerful. So joined up with other channels,
Okay.
it works exponentially well. Having said that, in the last year or so, algorithm changes within the big kind of email providers
Hmm.
have made it much harder for us to get emails through. So we and other people and clients that we work with, and again, guess we're at any one time we're working with a couple of hundred businesses. We see this, it's not just us, we see it across kind of the various industries that email effectiveness has dropped off. And
Right.
that's largely down to Google, and it takes time and clever people, much brighter than I, with much bigger foreheads than I have, to find clever ways of getting around some of these algorithm issues. But it's I don't accept the fact that email doesn't work. It's just how you do it and how you
Right.
track it.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you very much.
Cool, great question and great answer there. Anybody else? Any other questions from anybody else for Richard? Well, we've got obviously his expertise here. Anything relating to your own businesses that you need a bit of advice on or help, or any just thoughts, questions?
If no one else got something,
Chris.
one thing we've been thinking about a bit is personalizing sort of marketing bump effectively, but to a more extreme level than's done before. And where's the line between people going, oh, that's clever, and then going, this is really creepy? So what we're thinking, for example, is for us, it's about a business transitioning to employee ownership. So, everyone knows from Companies House data, we can easily get the names of the owners of the business, we can get the name of the company, fine. But then also thinking about doing things like finding the LinkedIn profile of the owner, getting their image, probably making it into a cartoon to make it a little bit playful, and building kind of basically a comic book of what they might do, and then thinking about sending that out. And we sort of talked about it a bit internally, and we felt as though if we were to do that via email or some kind of online thing, we worried that it might do more harm than good, because I think we're all a little bit afraid. And also maybe worth saying, our stereotypical client is probably 50 plus, maybe 60 plus, so not old, but at the more senior end.
Thank you.
And just, they might be freaked out. But we had in our heads that if we did it via post, yes, obviously the cost is a bit higher, but then I think people are more likely to just see it as a fun bit of marketing rather than as a slightly creepy, like when you get those emails that say, I know your password and you've been doing this, that, and the other. And you're more likely to panic rather than go, oh, I feel really comfortable and happy that this person knows stuff about me. So sorry, basically the question is doing personalization beyond just dear first name. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are entirely positive. Of course, you might get the odd reaction, and certainly beta test the content. So, don't throw all your eggs into one basket without testing a few things first. But personalization is really powerful because it conveys, if done well, it conveys these people can take the time and effort to understand not just me, but my business. We have developed a national aversion to spam and being commoditized as businesses, and just throw mud at the wall and hope some of it sticks. None of us appreciate that. But if you can demonstrate time and effort and skill spent in understanding me as a potential client, that one, it stands out from the crowd in the first place, but I think it conveys professionalism and care, which most people are looking for in a business partner. So the fact it's a bit different, I would see as a positive. But yes, of course, don't overdo the kind of the messaging that we know everything about you type of thing, but make that implicit in whatever you're putting together, and making it fun is great. As well. So short answer, personalization is brilliant. It conveys understanding and care.
I think really good words of wisdom there. So I really enjoyed today's talk. If there's no further questions, then I think then we can carry on. So any last questions from anybody before we round off?
Presumably, if my details are circulated, feel free to kind of reach out individually if you'd like to. So
yes, I think I got a question, right?
Oh, perfect.
Yes, in terms of CRM, for example, right? How can a CRM or a custom CRM, for example, play a role in terms of marketing, right? Because when I was building CRM for clients, all I noticed that the data are so important. For example, so you can see the lifetime of a client, or how much the business is making. How can a CRM can play a major role in terms of marketing, for example?
CRM is vital, as I touched on earlier, in terms of managing the customer journey. Perfect. And optimizing customer lifetime value. That's one thing. But in terms of the management of your sales funnel, and it depends on what business you are, but particularly in B2B businesses. As an example, if I am going to meet a business owner for the first time, and I will go, and we happen to use HubSpot, but other brands are available, I will know and prepare for that meeting by knowing a lot about that business. I will know, the CRM engine will capture whether they've had any fundraising, who the shareholders are, what the split across. It'll suck in stuff from all companies' house and other data sources. So I'll know about the business, all the report and accounts of that business. So I know the financial, health, the cash flow, everything about that business, but about the individuals as well. I will have access to their LinkedIn profiles. I will know if they've ever visited our website, which bits of our content they've downloaded, which pages they've viewed, how long they've spent on the pages. So what bits of what we talk about are of most interest to them. So I will go to those meetings so much better prepared and able to show an interest in that business that otherwise I spend the whole business firing questions at them, rather than listening to what they've got to say and what problems they have and how we might be able to. So again, it's showing professionalism and care and understanding for that business. So, it's about knowledge, and it's about, and if you use CRM to personalize people, again, goes back to my point of not all clients are equal. So, I would, we hold so much more data and use CRM so much more for high value businesses or potential businesses with high value potential, then again, we could use CRM to filter businesses by size, by potential, by profitability, by sector. So again, we can help target our own marketing initiatives, and channel those resources in the areas that are most likely to yield most profitable results. So it's key on so many levels.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that.
Cool, that's fantastic. Some really, really useful stuff there today, Richard. It's been, priceless. It's been so good to know and have that expertise and that knowledge there, and a lot of food for thought to take away from that. And so this is obviously been recorded. It will be put up on the Circle platform afterwards to rewatch, and for any other members that didn't have a chance to get by today. And again, your LinkedIn will be shared by the Startup Stand-Up community anyway. And you're going to get a lot of love on LinkedIn and shout outs. So if anybody, look out for those posts, and you'll be able to obviously connect with Richard from them as well. So it's been really, really good. Really appreciate everybody taking the time to come here today and listen to this. Very grateful. So any final thoughts from you, Richard, before we round off?
No, thank you for your time this morning. Really enjoyed meeting you all. On our website, there is loads of downloadable content. So how-to guides on all sorts of, all the components of the marketing mix, AI, CRM, pricing, anything you need. That there are literally, dozens and dozens of downloadable guides to make kind of your marketing more effective.
Cool, fantastic. Well, thanks again, Richard. Really appreciate that. And thanks everybody for joining. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day, have a lovely rest of the week, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye.